Have you ever thought just how boring or ridiculous news commentary is today? Welcome to the Real Jacks Podcast with Jim and Larry. The Real Jacks Podcast. From crime and politics to entertainment, you can expect something different. Now, let's get real, Jacks.
Hey, welcome back to Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. Today's guest is retired Rear Admiral Don Gabrielson. After we hear from our sponsors, we're going to talk to Don.
Thanks. Absolutely. So first ad, Extreme Wings, 4 convenient locations. I spent a lot of time at Roosevelt. Family sports restaurant grill, more than just wings. And, hey, I'm sporting my
Excellent.
My Save the Tatas shirt. So we'll support them in that way, and I appreciate Colin doing that. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Tremendous Barbecue, open since 2007, 8927 Hurlong Road. Open 11 to 8, Tuesday through Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 3. Full barbecue menu, everything homemade. They'll cater anything, and they love first responders. Advanced Window Tint, 5024 Sunbeam Road, over 26 years experience here. 3M Platinum Dealer, that's the highest level of 3M dealer around. They tint vehicles, homes, and businesses. Secure One Protection Service, a Jim's company. Go ahead with that.
Started in 1986. Secure One is your number one choice for protection. 904-356-1111.
I memorized. Jim is fast. Jim is fast at that.
I've memorized that number now after 35 years.
Yeah. Outstanding. Dibble Roofing since 1949. You can call Norm. That's Norm Brewer. He'll be on later.
Yep. Looking forward to Norm.
910-5728. Or you can email him at norm.dibbleroofing@gmail.com. You got D-Way Towing, and obviously Doug's been on the show. He's going to be regular. We'll have the Doug Dixon Hour as a regular thing. 100 South Jackson Avenue. Phone number is 356-3929. He'll take care of any of your towing needs. Shannon Judge with Legends of Real Estate. ShannonJudgeRealEstate@gmail.com is the email. Her phone number, and apparently I messed this up before, is 200-8158. Just making sure we're clarifying her phone number, 200-8158. And lastly, we got Bouncer Refund, Mike Kellum, is former JSO and a friend of mine, serving in North Florida over 15 years and over 10,000 parties. Bouncer offers a large selection of inflatable hoppers, water slides, interactive games, concessions, and frozen drinks. They offer large event tents, tables, and chairs, and they always discount first responders, anything you want to rent. And if you rent on the weekend, you keep it all weekend.
Awesome. I want one for my birthday. Can you help me out?
We'll do that. I want to see you in a bouncy house. That'll be great.
So, I was real excited about having Don on. And when I told Larry, Larry is a former chain of command, uniform, paramilitary organization, and he was excited, I think, as well.
Absolutely,
because
we did the series on leadership. And this is
the
crop right here. This is what I'm talking about. I like
he created a series on leadership, and we this is kind of an extension of it. Yeah. So just to let you know, in code, we're talking to code. The 450 is doing okay.
Good.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I got
awesome.
it. Okay. So got the 450.
Good. Yeah.
It's actually having some upgrades done to it.
I figured it might. I'd hope to see it.
I'll bring it back by. So the first thing that comes to my mind, especially as young as you are, you're a Rear Admiral. You're a 2-star Admiral. That's a pretty big deal. You're the kind of guy that hangs out with presidents. You're young, man. I mean, you're like 53, 54?
Yeah, right in there. Yeah.
So,
but, I joined the Navy when I was 6.
Yeah, must have.
Program.
And already had your college degree.
Yeah. My parents, I heard, Bernie's comments, and my parents also loved me and sent me away at a young age as well. But it's been a good life.
Well, we're wondering how does one, so I figured you probably entered after college. My guess. You didn't go in and enlisted. Yeah, went to Naval Academy, OCS, and then your career is off and running from there. So how does one, and you've got as much time as you want to tell to explain this, how does one become a Rear Admiral in that short amount of time?
Well, you keep paddling. You wake up every day just like, you all have done in your lives. And thanks for keeping us safe for all the years that both of you have contributed to that along the way, too. And it's really nice to meet you and spend some time today. And I appreciate really what you're doing here to have the conversations you're having, because they're meaningful. And I appreciate the chance to be able to talk more about some of that, because really that's the lesson that I keep hearing from most of your guests that, you get into these topics. It's, you wake up every day and you ask, what am I about? And then you try to stay true to that through the arc of a career. And if you, I think, internalize the lessons that we all are exposed to along the way, it's a question of whether we pay attention and learn and grow and keep growing and keep growing and challenge ourselves. And
how quick are you learning? How quick are you learning? How quick are you growing? And moving.
Right.
And keeping moving.
Right.
Some people get stuck in some places, and you get stuck in, then everything just kind of slows down for a while.
Exactly, Jim. If you get too comfortable, then you're going to be irrelevant fast.
We both knew some guys that shot through the ranks really fast. He did pretty good. He made it to assistant chief. That's getting up there. But we both know some guys that they came on. They did patrol for 3 years, and you never saw them again. And they all became directors. They went through every rank, every level, and they were movers and shakers.
Yeah, some people have a natural sense of themselves. I think that's a big piece of leadership. When I enjoy Dean's discussions about those 3 pillars of leadership, and I think he was exactly right when he said, first it's about mastering yourself, and then working with other people, and then leading a whole organization, and those pillars they go together, right? And if you have a problem in any of those areas, usually it comes back to that first one, which is a sense of yourself. Some people, for whatever reason, grow up with this really incredible perspective of who they are. And I was at a medical appointment this morning, and there was a corpsman there drawing blood. We call them vampires, and she's doing her thing, and she's telling me about her 10-year-old daughter. And I was just astonished. Her daughter comes to her at night. She's studying to be a nurse and all these other kinds of things. And her 10-year-old daughter says, "Mom, we don't want to live in this house for the rest of our lives. You need to keep studying. You need to do this." And she's 10 years old.
She's got a vision already.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? Yeah. It's like one of my old buddies used to say, when I was 10 years old, I was getting excited because I could lick a battery and get a little shock off it, and it took me a little longer than some to figure out.
Yeah,
and he did it more than once, too.
Yeah, well, it's fun. So I think that's really the lesson, isn't it? It's about sticking to it, even though you have setbacks and challenges, or maybe you don't connect with some people the way you hope to, or maybe you don't want to connect with some people.
And if you don't, you're smart enough to move on to somewhere where you do connect with people.
Yeah,
if you can.
Right.
If you can.
Figure out why you don't.
That's it. Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. You have to be in the pool, swimming with the fish that are, not going to eat you.
Right.
Right. But also be, part of something bigger too.
Right.
And it's all part of that. And you have to know when it's time to do something else. Yeah.
So tell us how your career started. Can you go through each kind of rank, basically, and just tell us what you did up until to your last command?
Culminated with
Well, so I served aboard ships, and there were quite a few of them, and over the years, and it was not an unusual or it was a typical career in the Navy, and over the course of that service, you spend typically a year and a half to 3 years on a particular ship, and then so usually do 2 ships. So you're talking about 3 to 5 years, depending on how that unfolds, right? And then you'll go to what you call shore duty for 2 years, and then you go back to sea again, and you just kind of keep this rotation going. But as you move along in your career, the rotations typically are a little tighter and tighter and tighter, right? So to the extent that sometimes you're only I had a couple of jobs where I was there less than a year. And, and then you move every time.
You were moving. Yeah, you were moving. Yeah.
So we've lived all over the world, and I've had firsthand experience in over 100 countries. I've lived in, I counted it up before, and I forget what the number was. I think it's 10 states we've lived in.
Wow.
Lived in several other countries. Even our kids have grown up in other countries, and it's been an amazing experience. And again, I go back to what I hear your other guests have talked about. This really is the best country in the world, and there's no question about it. People ask me all the time, "What's your favorite country?" The one I'm living in.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm at.
The ones that don't realize that don't have anything to compare it to usually.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that's
reference.
that's right. It's another theme that's so crucial. Is it's like leadership too. Is that you get this idea that the world is bigger than you. And when are you going to wake up and see that? If you want a satisfying life that you can feel some sense of purpose and deeper satisfaction, then you got to get way beyond yourself, because you'll never be happy if that's all you think about.
Yeah, that sounds like a good segue into the loop, the
infinite loop.
The infinite loop.
Or the operating system. A lot of people talk about it like that.
Tell us about the infinite loop.
Well, so
What is it, first of all?
Can we get that up on the screen here for the viewers?
It's kind of my philosophy in life. And several years ago, so one of the things we do in the military, as a commander, I've been fortunate to have 5 different times where I commanded a large organization, and each time they get a little bigger and, things change. And I had to sit down and think about, what is my philosophy, right? And people, oftentimes you see them write all these different things, and, it's not a mission statement for the team. It's, who are you and how do you see, what we do here? And over time, I think that your philosophy really doesn't change that much. You are who you are, right? And the challenge as a leader is to connect with people in a way that has them identify with what you're about and what's their place in this whole thing, right? How do you create a win together? And so I don't even know how many years ago it was now. It was quite a few years ago. I came up with this idea that it's like an operating system for a computer. It never really ends. Of course, the computer has to be rebooted every now and then, just like our lives. But, you start at the top and you follow these rules, and you get to the bottom, and what happens? You get back to the top again, and you keep going.
This is your career operating system.
This is
your self operating system.
This is how I think about life's work, and what we do together as a team. Here's
look at number 4.
What you do here.
Did you like number 4?
Yeah.
They all have. You could spend a lot of time on each one of them, and a lot of times people lock on to number 5 as if it's all negative, and the truth is, if you don't have an agenda, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah. Number 5 is reality.
Yeah.
It's just realistic.
Yeah, and it's not negative, right? It can be, if you're at odds with someone's agenda, but every one of those things are important. I think about some of the discussions I've heard with your patrol officers who are out there describing really difficult moments, and how do you defuse a situation, right? You leave somebody a way out. Leave them a way to join your team. Right.
Give them a way out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All these different things in there, and it's turned out that over the years, it's been amazing to me. I've never had to, really alter this. And what's really humbling is when you walk into an office somewhere and there it is, in somebody else's office.
Yeah.
Or somebody calls you and says, "Hey man, can I have a copy of that thing?" And then it's it just makes its way around. So I don't think there's anything particularly galactic in here. It's pretty common sense. But
it's nice to see those 8 items. Can our people?
I'll read those.
Can our viewers?
You got audio listeners, so I'll read them. So number 1 is you were hired to lead and solve problems. Number 2 is your boss does things for a reason. Number 3 is enthusiasm and capability are not the same. Number 4 is trust requires credibility and each is earned. Number 5 is everyone has an agenda. Number 6 is make room for people to join your team. Number 7 is problems or opportunities in disguise. Number 8 is every solution creates a new problem.
Which takes you back to number 1.
Correct.
Yeah.
I really like number 7 because, I think one of the things that I've seen is in various positions is, hey, I want to do. You have a vision and you say I would like to do A, B, and C, and that you will get feedback that will tell you negatively, we can't do this for this reason. Don't tell me how we can't. Tell me how we can. And they are. Problems or opportunities. If you have a problem, you want to solve it, don't create another problem. It's an opportunity in disguise. Figure out how to do something. And I think he's 100% right. I love this stuff. It's amazing.
It's amazing how many people will admire the problem, right? You'll describe how difficult this is, and don't you understand? And just say, I do.
Focus on it.
But let's talk about how we would overcome this problem, because otherwise we're just going to be sitting here tomorrow having the same conversation, right? And so, when you can get your people focused forward, it's incredible what they'll do, right? And you get a shared vision. I think that's the hardest thing any leader has. We'll stand in front of a group of people and talk, and and you in your mind have a vision and you understand what you think you're telling them. You have no idea what they're hearing. You have no idea whether they are hearing you or even paying attention. The only way you know whether they heard you was by what they do, right? And maybe what they say, but usually by what they do. And so this idea that you can take a group of people and align them in a direction is best served when it becomes theirs, because they own it, right? So instead of it saying, hey, Jim came in this morning and said, hey, we got to paint the building or whatever, maybe Jim came in this morning and said, hey, do you guys like the way this building looks? Do you think it needs a refresh? right? And all of a sudden everybody goes, well, yeah, man, I hate this. I hate cleaning the toilet every day because, it's, I hate doing that. Shouldn't we make it look better? How would you make it look?
And everybody gets to offer some input.
Yeah, that's it. And they get to be part of it, right?
They get to be part of it.
Yeah, go, hey, what if
now they're all participating. They're not being told what to do.
That's it. And it's unbelievable how that transforms an organization.
Yeah. I've been a business owner 35 years, and someone asked me a while back, and that kind of stuck with me. And I thought, this has been my reality for 35 years. They said, what's it like being a business owner? I said, I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
I'm a full-time problem solver. Being a police officer, career police, you're a full-time problem solver. That's what you do all day long. So when you get into, I would imagine, what you've done, it's pretty much kind of what you're doing and still needing to lead at the same time. So by doing what you just said, you get all your help on board.
Yeah.
All your helpers are on board now. Everybody's willing to help you lead because you made them part of the solution. So
right, when you can empower them and you don't have to look over their shoulder because they understand.
Yeah.
Right. You can then you get to focus on other things instead of worrying about, hey, are they doing it the right way? And of course you have to go. You get what you inspect, and all those things are all true. The details matter. But at the end of the day, if you're having to spend all of your time managing what they're doing, why do you have them? Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And if everybody takes a piece of their puzzle and focuses on their piece of the puzzle, then it comes together as a collective. That's important.
Yeah, all of us are smarter than any of us.
Yeah.
Right?
I always deferred, somebody said, and I've been around those kind of leaders. I'm not going to get into that today, but, the guys that always feel like they have the best ideas for leadership and or the direction of whatever the problem is and the solution to the problem. A lot of times the solutions are the leaders that are below you, in your chain of command, because someone there may have a better idea than you do, and you just always defer to the experts.
And sometimes the problems are the leaders themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got told when you get promoted to Admiral in the Navy, and I'm sure it's like this as a general officer in the other services as well. The number 2 Admiral in the Navy is a 4-star. He gets them all together, and he says, congratulations, this is the last time anyone's ever going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, we could load all of you up on a bus and drive it off the cliff, and there'd be 100 more just like you behind it, ready to do exactly what you're about to do. Because the bench is deep.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so when you look in the mirror and you admire yourself, you should be thinking twice about what you're really saying. And it is, how do you inspire people to want to be you? Mm-hmm. How do you inspire people to do more than what they ever imagined they could do? I mean, I think that's really what leadership is the future. Yeah, it's the future, right? It's hey, this needs to be going long after I'm gone.
Yeah, think about all the people below you that will always look up to you, or you influenced in a great way over the years, and they'll always remember Admiral Gabrielson. You're probably a hero to a lot of the people that work for you.
Because
you inspired them. Because you inspired them.
It is so humbling. I don't even usually like to talk about that one because it's one of these things where it's what bathwater are you drinking, right? Mm-hmm. I've had tears in my eyes when people have come to find me. I had a guy one time. It's
a good sign. About you.
Yeah, because that's why we're here, right? This is why you stayed. So as long as you did in the force, it wasn't because of the paperwork or the
or the politics or any
all
of that.
Yeah, right. And I had a guy one time. I was in San Diego and I was out in Point Loma, and there's a bunch of auto parts stores there or whatever, and there's a few other kind of places there that are known for sailors to hang out, which I've never been inside, but they're there. And so I walk into this auto parts store looking for something for the 450, and this guy walks up to me and he's got a name tag on. He says, "Hi, my name is Todd." And I look and I said, "This is interesting," and because he looks familiar to me, but never met him. And he says, "Are you, at the time, Captain Gabrielson?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well," he said, 6 months ago I wouldn't have crossed the street to, pee on you if you're on fire, but I just want to thank you." And I said, and I'm getting ready to kind of back up a little bit. I don't know what's about to happen. My hands are in my pocket looking for my keys, And he said, "Yeah," he says, "You kicked me out of the Navy." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, and then it starts to come back. It was about 2.5 years before when I had just started this job. And he had 2 DUIs in the course of about 6 weeks, and he did it on purpose. So he could get out of the Navy because he was in financial trouble, and he thought, hey, I can go get this other job. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
You realize what a mistake it was. So even those moments in your life are astonishing when you think, wow, at that time, I'm thinking maybe I ruined this guy's life, right? But then you find out, no, it was a different kind of experience.
Did he turn himself around?
He did. Yeah. He and of course he had some things that he wanted me to try to help him with that, maybe I could or couldn't help him with. The past is what it is, right? The facts are the facts.
And he created it, so.
Yeah.
And you did what you had to do.
Yeah, and that's it. I think, but if you do it with compassion, right? If you can look somebody in the eye and say, look, we're going to have 2 conversations here. First, what's happened here is not aligned to the values of this team and this organization, and I have to hold you accountable for that. It's my job, and I'm not going to shy.
Love that word, accountable.
Yeah, it's crucial, right? Yeah. But now I want to, after that part is done, now I want to talk to you as a person, man to man, person to person, right? And say, hey, don't let this define you, right? That's a really important discussion, and we don't do it well as humans. We don't really like to look people in the eye. And
was this guy probably in his 20s?
Yeah.
So
mid to late 20s.
Yeah. Think about 20, still pretty young. Still making some pretty bad decisions.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
You're not even.
Yeah, I know about
you're
those.
somewhere between an adult and
dealing with a young man now that's got those kind of problems.
Yeah. And you hope that the
some people mature earlier. Some don't.
That's it.
Zach. He's 48.
Yeah.
Over here, but
21.
I sense
but he's only 21.
He doesn't say much in these conversations, but whenever he speaks, it's worth listening to.
We all stop talking when Crawfish wants to say something.
Yeah.
So do you mind going through your career? You don't have to go into great detail, and of course, anything that's top secret we can skip over. But I'd love to hear. I
don't have to kill anybody.
Where you started out. Yeah, not.
You guys are probably hard to kill, so I'm not going to do that.
We are armed. We always come in here armed.
Right,
you never know who's going to show up here. It's crazy, and we're cornered over here.
Keep the door locked.
Yeah. So I served aboard different kinds of ships, but all warships, cruisers, destroyers, frigates.
So not interrupted, but you never got stuck in Washington like a lot of high-ranking guys.
I served in Washington, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're gonna move up in the organization, you have to spend some time at higher headquarters. That's necessary to understand how the business really works.
In Pentagon land.
Absolutely. So I did a couple different jobs in the Pentagon. I did 2 tours on Capitol Hill, working up there with the Congress on both the House and the Senate. Lots of really interesting experiences along the way, but they always went back to ships and going to sea and centered around that. And so I was fortunate to command 2 different ships as individual ships, and then I moved on from there to an entire aircraft carrier strike group, so all the ships and airplanes and 8 or 10,000 people depending on where we were.
All under your command. Wow.
And then I moved on and we lived in Singapore and had the entire Southeast Asia for the whole Navy. So I was the only flagger general officer. My boss was 7 hours away on an airplane, which was had all the features you'd imagine, good and bad. And then I moved from there to and then I moved down here where I was the commander of the United States 4th Fleet. So it was the entire Southern Hemisphere, so 31 different countries and
it's amazing.
All that. Yeah, and it was an incredible adventure.
You seem like just a normal guy off the street.
Yeah.
And you are. I've spent some personal time with you, but you're not here in uniform. But you just seem like just such an average guy.
Well, thank you.
And which is really a compliment. It's a compliment.
Humility, and that's impressive considering your career.
Yeah. Well, my wife would tell you I'm way below average, but she married me anyway, so it seems to be working out. But but I think that's what life is about, isn't it? Is about not letting whatever. I know where you've been, what you've done. You don't have to tell anybody. Right?
No.
And nobody cares. That's the other one that you guys might have heard. When you're 20-something, you're worried about what everybody else thinks, right? When you're in your 40s, you realize, you stop worrying about so much what everybody else thinks. And you get to around our age and you realize...
And you really don't care.
But nobody was even thinking about you in the first place.
You walk out the door of the sheriff's office, you think you're important. They forget you in 20 minutes. They don't recall you.
Use that retirement party sober.
The only thing you have is a legacy of leadership.
Yeah.
So the only thing I ever cared about was I wanted the guys, if I saw potential in somebody, and I've got some friends, and I can talk about some of those lieutenants that I wanted to see them make lieutenant, assistant chief director. I want those guys to run the agency because you see that potential and you see how bright they are and you see how they treat people. And you want them to make more money. You want them to get those raises. You want them to be more successful than you were in every way. And that's the way you should look at anybody that you're under your command. Because you will be replaced and everybody will forget you. The only thing you leave is a legacy of leadership with those individuals that you see have the potential to do the right thing when it comes to other people. And if I left anything on the plate at JSO or wherever I've been, it's that. So, and I can see that humility and just being around that. I mean, you know, like you say, you be around the guys that are self-important and you see how important they think they are. They're truly not, but they think they are. And how they treat people is on this full display when they think they're so important. When they're gone, they realize, you know, and you see that with even some of them.
That's your legacy right there. Yeah.
That no one cared what you thought and they weren't influenced by you. That's all you've got is what influence you left there. So
I want to ask you about that because there's something I wrestle with here is this idea of the balance between humility and ambition and your motivation for, aspiration to higher positions, right? And I think that it's easy to get confused about that. And I'm interested in your view. You know, have you watched people move up because they figured they deserved it, or that was kind of their. Yeah. How does that go?
Or was it a power thing? They just wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
power, right?
I think there's a lot of reasons for it, right?
But, the Admiral asking me a question is like a samurai sword asking a butter knife a question. I feel a little,
You need to get back with him on this.
Yeah,
we better have some wings so we can talk about this for a little while.
Yeah, drink a beer or something. The other layer will come out. Yeah. But no, I don't know how to. So you're just asking. When they went up, what was their ambition? Or what
have you seen that pattern? In your life, and I've seen it in mine.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what was their ambition?
Yeah, and what's their inner motivation?
Their motivation
was getting promoted.
Yeah. Sometimes it's power.
Do they feel like it was
right? Yeah.
They deserved it, and those kind of things. You see a few people like that. I guess that's any corporation, organization, anything, anywhere. You see some that feel like that they're owed some. There's some sense of entitlement, I guess. Yeah. Or that they've done enough to be important enough to be promoted. Beyond lieutenant in our organization is all appointments.
Yeah.
So you see a few that feel like I just and I can speak to this honestly. You're one decision away from not having that appointment.
That's true. Yeah, it's true in my work too. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
And I've been subject to that. But what was your motivation? Are you trying to improve those beyond you? And in those cases, some of those. It's financial.
Sure.
You can see that. I've upset a few of them with some of those discussions that, it's all about a financial, how does this benefit me in my career and my future? And I understand that to a certain extent because you do have to look out for your own personal well-being and wealth and things of that nature. But in my mind, there's got to be a bigger focus on what's your purpose in this world and in this organization. What are you leaving? And the only thing I got from moving up was this is an opportunity to have a positive influence on those that'll take my place.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective, and it relates back to what Doug talked about the other day, where he talked about those 3 pillars, and you're describing, this sort of vertical aspiration in the organization to lead more and more people, right? And then you get into this question of your integrity and your character and your motivation for wanting that responsibility, right?
Right.
And where it comes apart is when you lose sight of the very first thing, which is yourself.
Right.
Right. What are you doing? Right. And something that I kind of wrestle with is this idea sometimes of, when I look in the mirror, what do I see? Right. Do I focus on, my collar? Right. You all had collar devices, or, your sleeve.
Right. Yep.
Or when did I learn to focus on my heart and on my face? Meaning,
what's underneath
do I love this?
What's underneath that collar?
And part of that heart in being a leader is, like he was saying, recognizing people that do have certain abilities that they would do well for the whole organization if you helped get them promoted. You get out of their way and help them because they have a sincere interest and they've got the brains and the other talent to move up and then not block them, but to help them.
Yeah, and your title means nothing.
And
title means nothing.
The edges, like people did for me and for all of us over the years, right? You're not successful alone, right? That's the first lesson.
That's
if you're doing this by yourself, good luck. Right. Let us know. We'll come back and check on you. You'll be in the same spot. But someone has to teach you. Here, this is how this works here, and it's not a like an insider thing. It's not like the mafia. It's like, no, this is human nature, and this is how you connect with people, and this is how you get people to pay attention and listen, and and it starts by listening to them,
right,
and getting to know them and finding out, hey, why do you do this? What's your motivation? What do you value? And we're losing sight of that in this world. I think I've heard you all talk about some of those things too, and social media. It's really fascinating. There's a book called Alone Together, right? We're more connected than ever as we type on our phones, but yet we're more distant. We feel more alone, even though we can talk with these devices to over half the entire planet right now. I can call them.
Yeah, right. with actually no physical contact.
It's astonishing.
Yeah, we're losing physical contact sitting around a table.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about COVID. Does it bother you now, or do you notice when you walk around and everybody wears a mask that nobody even looks each other in the eye anymore?
That's you can't see facial expressions. Right. It bothers me that you can't see people's facial expressions. Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
As soon as you meet somebody, if you can't see their facial expression,
they're almost
you don't know what you're dealing with.
There's a fear of interaction almost. At this point.
Right. And so I think that's another aspect of leadership and life, in that the more we talk with each other, and the less we talk about each other, the better we're going to be.
Well, hopefully things will come full circle and get back to how they used to be.
Yeah.
Coming back to people sitting around at tables and breaking bread, and
talking to each other, not at each other,
or about each other, right? When they're not in the room.
I've heard a few of those.
I think I'll use Facebook for an example. I think it's evolving. There was a time when it came out, and then people realized, I can start talking about politics on here, and I can start voicing my opinion, and then people started figuring out, we don't really care about your opinion, and that's your opinion, and then we don't want to hear about your politics.
Like other things. These are like other things.
Yeah. So people are now starting to, I think less people are starting to discuss politics, which is good because that's less division. So I think some lessons are being learned. Something as big as Facebook, it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it may take 10 years. But I think things are starting to finally come full circle.
Yeah.
Like when text messaging came out, I loved it. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing on the planet. It's the biggest interruption in my world is being text messaged. Yeah. So that's something that I think is coming full circle. And people are going to stop sitting there having a 25-minute text conversation when they can go, I can pick up the phone that was invented back in
do it in 5 minutes.
And we're done. And we're back to where we were 20 years ago. So
I think it's also, I agree with everything you're saying, and there's also
it's much more personal
of social media and things that people were not really understanding was actually happening. It's a big deal in the world I'm moving on from right now. I mean, that's a really big focus of what's going on in the world today is the really misleading things that are happening. Not just if we talk about we agree not to really talk about too much about politics and stuff, but if you go beyond that, there are entire, state actors, which, governments that sponsor intentional disruption and misleading information on purpose to help their own agenda, right? But if you step back a little bit and ask ourselves, well, why do I give it my time? I think that's a really fascinating fundamental question, right? Because the only thing that we cannot change is the march of time. And so the one choice we have with our lives is how do I spend...
Am I going to spend my time every day?
Yeah.
Am I going to spend 8 hours on Facebook? And unfortunately, and a lot of people don't talk about this, is it's been acknowledged. I mean, it's a fact that it is addicting.
Yeah.
It does create a dopamine release, a little reward. When you pick that phone up and you see, I got a like, your brain you get a little reward in your dopamine receptors, and it's very addictive. So... they know it. The people that create it, they know this is addictive.
And obviously, I stir the pot, but I don't take that as personally as probably people think that I do. Sometimes when it comes to certain politics, but I will say that this
he likes to debate
forum.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. This forum has been therapeutic, cathartic, if you will, in that talking to people like the Admiral and other folks and that's the thing I really like, because I'm telling you, I get a lot of messages. People want me to go after people harder and harder and harder, and there's a lot of angst and that's fine, and I don't mind that back and forth. But the majority of the stuff that we've done on here, the part that I like is this. This is learning experience for me, and you start to look at it, and I'm telling you, I'm starting to put my phone down more. There's times I don't even want to see it or hear it, or even social media, even though I'll get on there and stir the pot and then get off. I mean, I've done that, but it's cathartic to learn where you are as a person in growth.
Yeah.
and you create a better version of yourself over time, and hopefully this will have a larger effect. And you look at what some of the things that are more important to you are actually simple things. And when you, like you say, when you leave the organization, hopefully you left a good legacy, and then focus on yourself and try to improve yourself as a person. And hearing from other folks like him, and I'm just enthralled with the stuff he says. You got to be a regular from now on. So.
Yeah, I was just saying
I'd be happy.
I don't even think
we've hit
church
somewhere.
Sorry?
Did you go to church somewhere?
We just moved, and we're working through that part about where do we settle here.
Okay, because you probably need to be a pastor too. I think that's probably your next. Yeah. That's. I mean, you'd be a phenomenal. There's a guy named Bill Brooks. He passed away, and I've been through several churches in my life. My parents went to different types of churches. And once in a while, you see a guy that you say that guy he
can get through to people.
He exudes something differently. He's more of
he can connect with
teacher
people
than a preacher,
right.
and you're really an excellent teacher.
Well, thanks. That's
really
kind.
Well, that kind of leads the question. So you're young in our eyes.
Yeah, I expect you to do that.
You're younger than I am. I think
I've had a lot of plastic surgery. I mean, don't be fooled by my youthful appearance.
For an 86-year-old man,
my wife's a health coach.
You're probably younger than
55.
Okay, you're just barely. I'll be 55 in January.
So are you technically still in reserve status?
Well, no. It's what happens as an officer is you serve at the pleasure of the president. You request to retire, and the law is that you can be reactivated at any time. So you're not really ever completely out or away. But
so since you got to the level that you did, you're kind of on call for the rest of your life. Probably because of your knowledge and everything.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's a.
So like what? Yeah. What would lead to reactivation?
Like wartime.
Every other admiral being killed.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're going to call you out.
You're probably okay.
So you technically are in reserve. You're just not classified as reserve status.
I don't. I mean, we move on and all of that. I don't think that there's any risk of that. Happening.
Well, like you said, there's benchfuls waiting to take your place.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, younger people that have great ideas. And they understand the new world even better.
So leaving what you did at your age with your vast amount of knowledge, experience, leadership abilities, everything. I can't imagine you sitting home and making carving pipes in your garage, or
I'd be building guitars if I could do that.
I noticed you had a guitar on your site there.
Yeah.
So I guess you play music then. You play guitar.
I do. But no, this was a strategic.
That makes me hate you even more now. That you can play.
Well, you've
done all this, and you can play a musical instrument too.
This strategic. What were you about to say?
It is a strategic move for me as I look at my life, my age, and really my family's situation, right? You met my family.
Yeah.
I've got a younger one in 9th grade, and they've lived all over the world, and it's been an incredible adventure. And I've asked a lot of them. And so I looked at a number of other factors looking forward, and I said, okay, where do I want to be, 10 years from now or something like that? And it just led to this really deep reflection. And it was, so the way I described this is that I had to kind of muscle up the courage to give myself permission to have this conversation without knowing the answer, right? And we don't do that, right? We just kind of do the easy thing and kind of, okay, now just keep going. And so I'm looking for some new opportunities. I have some really fascinating conversations going that, I cross my fingers and see where it goes. And I'm open if,
thinking like corporate stuff?
Yes. And I have some other things, whether or not I have the courage to, frankly, what you all are doing is interesting to me because, I follow quite a few different people that do this stuff. And the observation is that this field is rich with opportunity and very, very few people have the courage to do it. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you
for taking that step, right?
We still haven't figured out why we're doing it. We just decided to do it. But
that's what's great.
Yeah, we had the will.
Yeah, you're gaining that experience, and you're doing
therapy
a
and
great
growth,
job.
Jim. Therapy and growth.
That's
okay,
it.
that sounds good, Larry.
And so I'm looking at I'm looking for ways to continue contributing to our future, and I probably can't say too much at the moment, but I'm looking for something really.
Okay, exciting. But you're not planning on sitting at home and kicking your feet up and watching TV every day.
No,
I couldn't imagine
my
that.
wife would kick me out.
So I've always wanted to be able to play a musical instrument. Never had, first of all, I don't have the talent. I'd really have to work hard at it.
You do, though. Your heart beats, so you have rhythm.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I guess. Some people can pick up stuff, and they pick it up really fast. Not me.
Was like that.
But, and I've got a sister like that. She can play every musical instrument on the planet. But you kind of remind me of a fella who's a friend of mine that were in the Air Force years back. My friend is early 60s. But he was in the Air Force, and this guy was his friend was an enlisted guy that worked at the guard shack, I guess, the entrance. And he played in bands. He could play guitar, and he was just an enlisted guy that watched the gate every day. And
thanks for keeping us safe.
Exactly.
Every time you go in the gate, that's what you say.
And he goes, the next time I ran into him, he had gotten a commission, or he'd gone to college and became an officer. And next thing he knew, he was flying fighter jets out of Fang over here, Florida Air National Guard, and became a colonel, and then retired and went back to playing in rock bands. I thought, man, what a life to live right there. The guy just had the natural ability to do all of that. Not a lot of people can become a fighter pilot.
That's a true
statement. Not a lot of people can do like what you did. So that was his life in a nutshell.
It's a sign of intelligence,
Absolutely. And today he's playing in a band. You never know. He's a former fighter pilot, Air Force colonel, and it's just, and he's probably 60 years old. So
probably my motto in life is that it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
If you have some passion in your life, don't wait to embrace it, because you might, tomorrow's a gift if you get it.
That's for sure.
And that's one of the things I'm learning. My buddy Jimmy having ALS and just realizing,
as you get older, you start waking up.
There's no guarantees.
Yeah. You start waking up to your mortality and the reality that time is moving pretty quickly and fast, and things that you wanted to do, there's less time ahead of you to do that.
Yeah, that was a big factor in my
some things you want to achieve.
To shift careers. My dad passed just over 2 years ago, and that was its own gut wrenching experience for me in the way that all the things that would happen. But and then with COVID and I was traveling well over 200 days a year for, I don't even know, 15, 20 years. Wow. And I tell stories like my son. I went to his parent-teacher conferences in third grade and meet all his teachers. And then I go away and I come back and I go to his parent-teacher conferences and I go, hey, buddy, I didn't recognize any of your teachers. He goes, yeah, Daddy. He says, because the last time you went, I was in third grade. Now I'm almost done with fourth grade. And I went, oh, yeah, right? Yeah. Those kinds of things that, you step back and he's not, him. He's not worse off for it. He's an amazing
squared away
kid.
Squared away,
amazing
absolutely.
Kid. But I think, what did I miss?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I don't worry about what they missed. I worry about what did I miss and what am I willing to do.
But there's only so much time in the day.
That's it.
If you devoted more time to your family, your career probably wouldn't have been what it was.
It's all choices, right?
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day.
And if you only devote the time to your kids, then they don't have any reason to see any other experience for themselves. If you let go of yourself. I watch a lot of parents just kind of give away who they are. And then, they get to our age and they go, what am I going to do now? I don't have any hobbies. I don't do anything. Was that? And it's just a choice, right? And we're the product of every choice we make.
Yeah. So if we invite you back, you're going to come back?
Of course I will.
Because I think we just barely hit the tip of the ice, barely, with you. This is just more of an introduction, really, than anything.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anything you want to? We're going to wrap in a second. Anything you want to say or tell us before?
No,
before we do.
I think I said, the key things is that you all are really talking about some meaty, meaningful topics into your audience, which I know will continue growing.
Yeah.
The arc and the theme of what you're doing it's about hope, and it's about, what does it take to make your contribution to a brighter future? What do whose responsibility is a better future, right? If I wake up tomorrow and I do the same thing as I did yesterday, why would I expect it to be any different, right? And so I appreciate that y'all are digging into that.
Well, we appreciate that coming from you. Yeah.
Thank you.
That means a lot. Because I was going to quit today if this didn't work out. So I was going to. This is going to be my last day.
Well, is it your last one?
Yeah.
Thank you. So you pulled me through. So I'm just kidding.
It's a service I provide.
Yeah, he's reinvigorated.
Hey, I want to say thank you for coming here. I know you've got other things to do, and take the time for us and our viewers and listeners. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll have to make this a regular thing, and I'd love to have this. And maybe we'll just start in future episodes breaking down the steps,
however you want to explore it. I mean, I'm completely open to it, because I can talk to you separately about some of the things I'm thinking about, and maybe they'll resonate, and maybe we got something here.
Okay.
Yeah. But sounds good.
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks to each of you for what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Hey, that was retired Rear Admiral Don Gabrielson. We really appreciate him joining us today. Appreciate everybody watching, listening. We'll see you next time. That was Real Jacks with Jim and Larry.